Hello there, it's Henry, and today I'm with my partner Dorian, and we will determine whether Andrew Jackson is a hero or a villain. Andrew Jackson is a villain.
Throughout his life, President Jackson has done bad things. The guns in this picture represent his violence. Jackson, for example, was involved in a duel in which he killed a man. The red eyes represent his evilness. During his presidency, Jackson has done some terrible things.
One of the horrible things he has done is signing the Indian Removal Act. This act made all Native Americans be forced to go to the west of the United States, where Americans thought they would never go.
Then, after almost a quarter of the Native Americans died while being moved to the west, they sued Americans. This got all the way to the Supreme Court. Jackson responded to the Native Americans who were suing by saying, "Let's watch them enforce it." He violated the checks and balances by ignoring the Supreme Court.
Another act Jackson did was replace anyone who didn't agree with him. He replaced the non-followers with his followers. Any follower could become part of the government. After destroying the National Bank, he gave all of the money from there to state banks. The problem with this is that the banks were run by his followers.
Jackson also didn't listen to his advisors. Instead, he invited his friends into the White House kitchen and talked about matters with them.
Andrew Jackson can be seen as a king. He often did whatever he wanted to. For example, he invited a drunken mob into the White House. He also violated the checks and balances.
The seventh president also forced Native Americans to move west. He was claiming land that was never even his. This picture shows how Jackson cold-heartedly forced Native Americans to leave for his own benefits.
This picture represents Jackson not listening to his advisors. Instead, he talked to his friends. This picture shows how only Jackson's followers could run state banks. As long as you supported him, you could run a bank.
This picture symbolizes how anyone who didn't agree with the president would get fired. If you did agree, however, you could get to keep your job. Andrew Jackson is a villain. He has showed this in many ways. For example, people still suffer from the Indian Removal Act. It killed 4,000 Native Americans. Also, he fired anyone who didn't agree with him. He had no right to do so for such a small reason.
Another thing Jackson did was violate the checks and balances. Ignoring the Supreme Court is the reason why Jackson is a villain. Also, his banks were run by only his followers. He had no right to do that. Jackson has done awful things which lasted for both a long time and a short time. This makes him a villain.